welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Tree Spirit Challenge. That's it, we are now in episode 4 of the challenge, and what we did last episode, a quick recap, was we found a village for future village breeding needs, and man, it was an ordeal. If any of you were there, it was a lot harder than I intended. There was no village in sight wherever we went, and I went hundreds of blocks out and there was still no village, and we had to keep looking and going further and further out, and eventually we did come to a village, and we picked up enough food to keep us going for a bit longer, and we managed to get some iron ingots for a bucket, and this bucket is going to tie in nicely for what we've got planned this episode, and that is to build an area for crop farming, because while food at the moment, we've managed to fight off our hunger until now, it is going to become an issue if we don't get it sorted, and what better time than early on in the series, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build an area that can house our wheat seeds, our newly gained carrot seeds, beetroot seeds and potatoes, and then once we've got this sorted, we shouldn't have to worry about food again. Not to mention, we are going to be doing some animal breeding soon, which will mean obviously gathering animals, and having crops to be able to breed them is going to be massively helpful too. So if we don't have an area for growing crops, we're not going to be able to feed ourselves, and we're not going to be able to feed animals that we wanting to breed up. Okay, and fast forward a little bit, and this is the area I've decided on. Yeah, it's not very far at all. It is right next to the tree farm. As you can see, we've already marked out the perimeter of the build. In terms of its location, I wasn't wanting anywhere that was too far away. I was wanting something really close to home, and it just seemed like a perfect space. So we had this relatively flat area next to the tree farm that I felt could be perfect for crop farming, and there's water nearby so we can go and gather that when we need to. It's a really good area for it. It also means when we're chopping down trees, because it's so close, the crops will continue to grow, so when they do grow I can then harvest them and get back to work tree farming. Thing is, if they're in another chunk border or whatever, I don't know, if they're in a different location, if they're too far away, then the game won't pick up on them and they won't grow, and that's going to be a problem. I mean, it would have to be quite far out for it to do that, but having it conveniently on our doorstep is what we want. You can also see that we've laid out where our crop plots are going to be, and that's going to be where these line of 4 dirt blocks are going to be. So each of these 4 dirt blocks basically outlines where the crop plantations are going to be. So we're going to have 3 for wheat seeds, we're going to have 1 for potatoes, 1 for carrots, 1 for beetroots at the moment. No, 2 for beetroots, sorry. 3 for wheat seeds, 2 for beetroot, 1 for carrots, 1 for potatoes. That's the plan at the moment. And obviously in between is the trenches of water. Obviously the water is going to soften up the ground, it's going to get enough moisture into the dirt, which is going to decrease the time needed to grow the crops. So we have our area laid out, we know exactly how big it is going to be. Okay, so the area is now a bit more changed than it was. As you can see, we filled in all of the logs, and we've also expanded it slightly. So like with the tree farm that we built back on episode 2, I was also hoping to place a fence around the outside, around the perimeter, because this world is still pretty dangerous. You know, this is a hardcore world, we don't have armor, we don't have shields, and mobs will spawn at night, and I don't want them to spawn and be able to get to me when I'm farming within this area. So of course the fences will have to be put up around the outside, but if I had placed the fences originally on the first layout of this area, then what would have happened is what I was fearing for the tree farm, which was it would have been slightly too cramped. I want a few blocks space between the edge of the farm and the fence, because let's say we're planting or we're harvesting crops in that block next to the fence, and say a creeper comes behind us, blows up, that's it, we're dead. So ideally we want a few blocks out from the edge of the crop. As you can see, I've laid out where each of the crops are going to go and how far back. So each of these crop plantations should get a stack of each at least, really, because we're going to be able to plant a stack. So for carrots and potatoes I'll get a few more. I think beetroot only give 1 beetroot for each beetroot seed placed, so I will get, let me see, there's 2 stacks, so I'll get about 2 stacks of beetroot. As for where the crops are going, you might also notice that the logs placed are actually a layer down, and that's because because I'm going to be placing dirt on top of that, and I'll explain why in this next clip. Okay, so this is just a quick recap of one of the rules. Now, I don't know if you watched episode 0, but in episode 0, when I was explaining the rules of the Tree Spirit Challenge, or the rules I was going to be following within this world, I said that in order to be connected to the heart tree, which is something you need to be doing at all times, you have to either be directly touching a heart tree log, or you have to be directly touching a block that is directly touching a heart tree log. So for instance, in this example, walking alongside the heart tree logs, directly next to them or on top of the heart tree logs, you're completely fine. You're touching the heart tree logs. Also, if you're walking on top of blocks that are directly on top of the heart tree logs, like here, like the red stained glass here in this example, it's fine. You are also connected to the heart tree, and that's basically what we're going to be doing with our crop farm. We're going to be placing a layer of logs underneath where the dirt is going to be going, so that when I do walk across the dirt, I'm actually still going to be touching heart tree log. I'm still going to be connected to the heart tree, which is very important, because if I'm not, and if I'm actively breaking the rules, then of course I've failed the challenge. Okay, so not much has actually happened since where we left off. All I've done is, as you can see, filled in each of the plots with the dirt blocks and then filled in the water. Dirt blocks are a stack each for each of the plots, as I said, so we'll be planting a stack of seeds for each of the plots of land. So that it's going to be 3 for wheat seeds, 2 for beetroot, 1 for carrot, 1 for potatoes. Just a recap. At the moment, I mean, if I feel like I've got a shortage of a particular food, then I may decide that I want to change that around, but carrots, potatoes and beetroot sort of fall into the same category for me. You can breed pigs with them and you can feed them to the villagers, whereas wheat seeds and wheat is basically for breeding chickens, cows, sheep, and of course you can make into bread for breeding villagers. But yeah, just doing this simple thing, placing the dirt blocks in and the water, has just made the area come together that little bit more, and it's quite a nice area for planting crops, I've got to say. As you can see, all of the water is level. That was something I really wanted. I could have just placed water at one end and it would have gone all the way through to the other end, but I don't like it not being level. I don't know if that's an OCD sort of anal thing, but it just looks much better when the water's level in these trenches rather than sloping. At least I think so. Anyway, so all we've got left to do, I think we're going to actually plant the crops themselves and put the fences and light the area up. I think that's all we've got left to do. Hey, look at this area now. It looks a lot more official and a lot nicer. And the biggest thing you'll see straight away, apart from the crops themselves being planted, is that is one big area. I decided to get rid of this fence that was separating the crop farm and the tree farm, because if they're directly next to each other, there's no point having the fence in between. I might as well just make it one large area. Just makes it much more convenient, and the space in general feels a lot more open, a lot nicer, and a lot more convenient running back and forth. You'll also notice there are chests in the ground next to each of the plots of land. They're basically convenient storage. So as you can see, I've got a couple of chests by the wheat seeds. That's going to be 1 for wheat seeds, 1 for the wheat we grow. Then for the rest of them, I've got chests next to them. So for the beetroot seeds and for beetroot, and then 1 for carrots, 1 for potato. It just means that we don't have to go back to our storage system. I mean, it's not even a storage system we've got going on. I mean, we've just got randomly placed chests with a load of junk in them. And that's not something I want. I want all of the seeds and all of the crops handy for when I need to collect and when I need to plant more. Also, you'll notice the fence that we did take down, we've now placed around the outside of the perimeter, like I said I was going to. And we have this nice gap of a few blocks out from the crop farm to the fence. It's just a much safer area and much nicer. I'm really happy with how things have gone. I mean, the only thing we've got to do now is light up the area, and that's it. And we're done. Look at this. This looks so much nicer, so much more complete. It is now an official crop farm. It's all lit up. We don't have to worry about mobs spawning. We don't have to worry about any of that. It's a really nice area for what we've got planned. Yeah, and I'm just really happy with how things have gone. We no longer have to worry about hunger. Hunger will never be an issue again, as long as we actively, obviously, harvest the crops and continue to plant more for the future, because I imagine we're going to go through a lot for, like I said before, we're going to be doing some animal breeding, and I want to eventually be doing village breeding, so that's also going to be going towards them. So we are going to have to go through a lot. So I imagine off camera I'm going to actively be harvesting these while I'm also harvesting logs. It's just really nice to have an area next to the tree farm, and so convenient. It's another step to basically being set up within this world. Oh, and I also forgot to say that I did actually clear out some blocks away from the fence, like what we did with the tree farm. I did again with this area. I was kind of frightened that mobs would, despite the fences, just be able to get over the top of the fences because the block's right next to the fence on the other side of the fence. So I did have to clear out a few blocks worth away from the fence, just to prevent that from happening and for peace of mind. And I'm going to give you an example now. So as you can see, here I am in this clip. I have creepers surrounding me on all sides, but fortunately for me, I do have a fence preventing them from doing it, and there are no blocks that they can jump over, so I'm basically safe. If of course they could get over this fence, things would be very different. So this is basically how our crop farm is at the moment, how our main base is. We have a fence, we don't have any blocks around that the creepers could get onto. But now in this next step, if we just place blocks all around the outside like so, let's just use stone for this. So basically I've placed it on the other side of the fence, so if you can see, you could quite easily step up onto that stone block and then you could just quite easily just walk over the fence, basically rendering the fence useless, right? So I'm going to show you again now what happens when we turn on survival mode. So as you can see, all the creepers basically pathfind towards me, and yeah, it's not pretty. You can see what's going on screen. It's not nice at all. Yep, yeah, it's basically what's happened. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, right, we can't avoid them all. Look, it's just, and then we'd have to repair the area. If I managed to survive, which I don't think I would, if I managed to survive multiple creeper attacks, if a creeper blows up next to you, you won't survive. Not with the armor I currently have, at least in game. But yeah, if I was to die, then it would all be over. And even if I wasn't to die, I mean, look at the mess they're creating just from exploding. It's not nice. It's not what you want, and is why you should clear out a few blocks perimeter away from the fence so they can't get it. And that basically wraps up the episode. Thanks for watching if you did. It's massively helpful to the channel, and it's just nice to know that people watch it. In summary, I'm happy with what we've done. For next episode, for going forward, I think what we're going to do is we are going to build a village breeder, I think. I mean, we've now found a village, we've got our food sorted out, we have access to numerous logs, or to an infinite supply. So yeah, I might as well set up a village breeder, and it's going to take a lot of work, but I'd like to tackle it early on so we don't have it hanging over us. And the earlier on I get it sorted out, the quicker I can get villagers breeded up. Alright, anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.
Lord, let me get my cash right. I'm trying to fly, still tired from last night. Putting that work in to all of my earthlings. When them haters acting up, gotta give them that act right. Back up on the scene with some flame shit. Different cause